processed food was a genius invention because we have 7 billion people in the world that we need to feed, and without processed food we would be struggling big time. So it does play a role. The problem is we, not the governments, not anyone else, we have decided to make it the main game. We have decided to consume 60% of our energy from processed food, about 30% from animal, about 5% from potatoes, which is French fries and whole grains, and 5% from fruit, vegetables, nuts, beans and seeds. Now it's because of that simple thing. It's because of that one data point I just gave you. Because the average American, Australian, Great Britain, you live in the Western world, the 2 billion people live in the Western world, 5% of their energy is coming from plants. 5%. And that's why we have diseases of absolute ignorance, of nutritional ignorance, such as heart disease, cancer. I mean, if you just take our amazing group of people here, let's just divide the centre down here, right down the line here. This is half the room and this is the other half here. Well, this half here, statistically speaking, the coroner will write heart disease or cancer on your death certificate. That's it. That's how 52% of Americans go out, sign out heart disease or cancer. 10%, here's the 10% run down here, stroke, which is kind of like a heart disease. It's coronary disease anyway, so you can now throw it to 62%. You want to go into diabetes, you're at 5, Alzheimer's, you're at 5. Obesity-related diseases they haven't even got names for is 4%. You have smoking or just lung disease, not even cancer, just lung disease is 3%. So you can sort of wrap up about 80% of disease from those top 6 or 7 categories of killers. And these are choices that we're making because, not because we're eating the processed food, it's because we're not eating the plant food. Does that make sense? People say to me, Joe, do you think McDonald's is bad for you? Do you think Pizza Hut's bad for you? Do you think I don't think they are bad for you. I don't think they are. I think that if you go to McDonald's and you go there once or twice a month, and you eat that food, and the rest of the time you're eating mostly plant food and good lean animal protein, I don't think it's bad for you. But if you only eat that food, or you get most of your energy from there, it's not the fact that that food is so bad for you. There are issues with it, but just to make it very simple, what's the real damage is that you are not getting this food into your system. So think about those 3 trillion cells as your own private military. You've got like an Air Force, a Navy, you've got a SEAL Team 6, you've got Marines. And what you've got is you've got all these guys in there fighting for you. They're yours. And they're fighting every day for you. They want to stay alive, they want to win the war. But if you cut off supplies to any infantryman, we all know what happens if you cut supplies off. They don't lose the whole battle. They don't just, because they've lost one little area, they retreat. So the weakest thing on your DNA, the weakest link on your genetics is probably the one that pops first, because that's the one that's going to break. That chain will break first. And for me, it was my chronic urticaria. For someone else, it might be psoriasis, it might be heart disease, it might be cancer, it might be migraines, it might be whatever, thyroid, whatever it is. But it's about cutting off the supplies. And so that's why, wherever I go now, I don't talk about don't eat this or don't eat that. That's not the message. I don't think that works. I think the message is, eat more plants. Get them into your body as best as you can. We are hunters and gatherers. That's what we are. That's what we do best. So when's the best time to hunt and gather? In my opinion, it's when you're fresh. It's when you wake up in the morning. When you get up in the morning, and what do you want to do? You want to go out and hunt. So the real question is, how much of plants, how much of animal, and how much of processed should you be having? And you know what? I actually don't know the answer. I'm trying to work that out, and part of this new movie is on a quest to find this out, to get the experts to see what they think. But right now what I'm doing is I'm living on 40% of my energy is coming from plants, about 30% from animal, and about 30% from processed. So what does that mean? That means that predominantly I have 2 meals a day that are plants, and 1 meal a day, which is just kind of like everybody else. So in the morning, I'll drink juice, I'll have fruit salad. That's what I'll do. I'll have an egg white omelette every now and then. And then at lunchtime, I'll have salad. I had salad, the beautiful salad today in Austin, and I had some lean chicken with it, because I know I'm not going to probably have dinner tonight. I'll have some juice tonight. So I flipped it around for lunch today. But that's how I go by. Now, I haven't been sick for 6 years. I haven't taken any medication for 6 years. I had a tooth infection. I needed the antibiotics once. But I haven't been sick, and I've had the flu once. I've had flu for like 6 days, and I only got it recently, and I was shocked to be sick, because I hadn't been sick for 5 years. So I think what I'm doing now is working. I think, could I be better? Of course I could be better. Are there days where I'm not like that? Of course there are. I'm human, I'm not perfect. Does my weight fluctuate? Yes, it does. Do I feel sick? No, I don't. I don't focus so much on the weight. I focus on the health. I think we get way too obsessed about our weight and how we look in this world today. There are so many thin people walking around that are ready to drop dead because their arteries are blocked up of just coronary heart disease. But we have this thing, because someone's thin, they must be healthy. It's not possible to have the amount of disease that 27% of people dying of heart disease, because guess what? They're not all obese. They're not all overweight. In fact, if you look at the data, 20% of people that are overweight lead happy, healthy, normal lives, don't even get sick. 20%. So we've got to shift the topic. We've got to shift the discussion away from, you know, people on television losing hundreds of pounds and being voted off, and that being the main game, or how many pounds this celebrity's put on or lost. We've got to shift it. We've got to shift it to who's healthy, who's got the best blood pressure, who's got the best cholesterol numbers, who is living life, who can do squats, you know, 50 squats when they're 70. That's what we've got to shift it to. We've got to shift it to being healthy. So I just want to perform a little magic trick up here that I love to do when I go around the world. I'm going to turn my juicer on here. I'll just put this down for a second. And I want you to think about this machine, if those guys can see it here. I want you to think about this machine as like a human body. See this part here? It's like the mouth, all right? It's like you're putting in the mouth. Down here, this is the guts. This is your intestine. Over here, the back door. This is what goes out the back door. And over here, this is what is digested into, past the cell membrane of your stomach, into the blood. This is what goes to the cells. Okay? Now, John, we've got 2 glasses. Sorry, I should have asked. We've got just 2 cups, 2 clear glasses. Thanks. 2 clear cups. So what we've done is we've taken, oh, you know what, we've got our other cucumber here, so I didn't see. I'm going to put the other half in as well. I want to show you a full cucumber. Okay. We need 2. Oh, it's down there. Cool. Yeah, no, that's all right. You'll be able to see through those. We haven't got clear ones, have we? Oh, we've got clear ones. Clear is going to be better. Thanks very much, John. Okay, I'm going to pour this out. Can you see this? What we've done is we've magically deconstructed a whole cucumber here. We've deconstructed it. And I want to show you actually what happens in your body when you eat a cucumber. Okay? When you eat a cucumber, that is what would go into your system. Now, does anybody like celery here? Anyone in the front row? Okay, here's what I want you to do. You want to come out? What's your name? Laurie. Okay, Laurie. Break off 2 inches of that celery. Okay, you want to hold that up and show people? All right. I want you to put all of that in your mouth. And I want you to start chewing. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You count the chews. Okay? You can go back, sit down, Lord. I'll be back to you in 25 minutes while you're still chewing that celery. Okay, you count the chews from that 2 inches of celery. So I've got a theory about this. But while you're chewing, what number are we up to? 29, keep going. All right, so here's what we have. We have the breakdown now of our celery and of our cucumber split. So here is the cellulose that was holding that cucumber together. It's been reduced, it's been smashed. I get this question a lot, Joe. Difference between a smoothie, this thing called a NutriBullet, and a Vitamix, or a Breville blender, or a blender. That's part of the game in a blender. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm going to show you something and explain the difference in the two. That is what goes in to your blood supply. That's what goes straight in when you eat cucumber through in your membrane into your blood. Okay, I'm going to get rid of our cellulose now. Put it back in here. Now, can anyone tell me what they think that looks like as I'm pouring that? Looks like water, doesn't it? Because most of it is water. And what this is there's a company running around calling themselves Vitamin Water. This is the real vitamin water. This is the true vitamin water. So just look at that. It's beautiful, absolute water. Just look at it. Normally I can hold it up, but I've got a microphone, so we're just going to pour that like that. So this, when you look at that, and now look at this water I've got here, it's absolutely the same. In fact, if I took you into a dark room, strapped you down, I wouldn't need to strap you. That's another experiment. Which is don't get your mind out of the gutter. That's another experiment. That's to test your metabolism, how much energy you use. But no, we won't do that right now. But if I was to lay you on the ground in a dark room, and I was to pour water over your forehead, I reckon everyone in this room would know if it was water being poured over their forehead, because we've all had water on our forehead. Shower head, whatever. If I took a smoothie and blended up a smoothie, and I poured a blended smoothie over your forehead, I reckon you would all know that it wasn't water that was going over your forehead, because you would feel it slowly, the texture of it, wouldn't you? But if I poured this green grape cucumber juice over your forehead, you would not be able to tell the difference between that and water if I put a nozzle over your nose so you couldn't smell it. You wouldn't be able to tell, would you? Because it's water. Well, this is the magic part. This is why this performs a magic trick. What I spoke about earlier was when Joe went to McDonald's and ate all that food, I was performing a magic, or I was tricking my body into thinking it was eating. You see, for thousands and thousands of years, it wasn't possible to put that kind of energy into my body, so much energy that didn't have nutrients. It wasn't possible. That food didn't exist. It's only 70 years old. It wasn't possible. So my body hasn't adapted to be able to tell when it's high processed food versus high plant food. So it just says it's full anyway. So it tricks it into thinking it's full, and there's or not zero, but there's very little nutrition, so I'm tricked. So this is a way to untrick. Does anybody run here? Anyone a runner? Okay, sir, at the back. If you were running 5 miles this morning and I came along to you, and on the 5-mile mark I said, here's a whole cucumber, you've got to eat this while you're running. Could you eat it while you're running? No way. Couldn't eat it. Does anybody know why you couldn't eat it while you're running? Pardon? Do you know why you choke? Yeah, there's a reflex, but there's a reason why you will choke if you eat while you run. There's a reason. Because your body, once again, is trying to protect itself. The blood required for digestion is in the thigh muscle, the calf muscle. It's pumping the arms. It's propelling you forward. It's all through the body and the muscular system. It is not available for digestion. So digestion shuts down, and the esophagus, trachea will not allow food, whichever one it is, to go down. So it is not possible to eat while we run. Yet a lot of us eat when we're stressed, we eat while we're walking, and people are not digesting that food. They wonder why they're getting heartburn when they eat, when they're running around or just being going crazy. That's another story, but back to our point. However, if you think about that, if I came along and gave you this juice of the cucumber, would you be able to drink that while you're running? Absolutely. Rapid absorption, because it's just like drinking water. All runners know you can drink. So therefore, the difference in digestion for juice versus blended smoothie versus eating is a world apart. And that's really, really important when it comes to a reboot. You know why? Because when I started my journey out, the first 3 days were absolute, it was actually 4 days for me, were absolute living hell. And I'm sure most people, put your hand up if you've been juiced for more than 3 days and you know what I'm talking about, that pain that you go through. And that pain is about you withdrawing from sugars, fats and salts, but it's also about your body saying, Joe, why aren't you eating? It's about making me so grumpy, making me so angry, making me so frustrated, making me not want to think about anything else except food, because my body wants to remind me to eat. Just like we have thirst to remind ourselves to drink. Imagine if you had a little baby boy who was born without thirst. You have to have some like iPhone reminder every 2 hours to drink. Because if you didn't drink, you would die. So we have this inbuilt mechanism to keep us alive. So the whole idea here is that we need to eat, and that mechanism of eating is called hunger. So for the first 3 days of just drinking juice or just drinking water, your body's going to take you to a whole level of throwing everything at you but the kitchen sink, trying to make you eat. But guess what happens around day 4 or 5, depending on how bad or good you've been in your life? And I'm talking about what sort of energy you've consumed. Here's what's going to happen. Up in the brain, they're going to go, hold on a second, fellas, we've made Joe angry, we've made him grumpy, we've made him so tired. You know what's happened now? It's not his fault. He's back on the savannah where there's no food around. We know what to do here. There's a famine going on. So what do you think? If you're inside the brain and you can control a brain of somebody that is on a famine, like on a savannah with no food, what do you think you would do? Well, the first thing you're going to do is switch off hunger, because that didn't help. Like making someone grumpy and hungry isn't going to help them find food, is it? So you turn hunger off. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to give them better eyesight, better sense of smell, better hearing, better sense of touch, so they can go and find food. I call this human 2.0. And all of those people that have gone past 5, 6, 7 days, put your hand over, you know what I'm talking about. You experience this euphoric feeling of, oh wow, I just feel great, I'm cruising here. I've got an enormous amount of energy, I'm sleeping great, I look in the mirror, I'm positive about myself, I look fantastic, I can see the change, people are commenting, and boy, I can smell the neighbours' food and their steaks. That's not great, because what's happening is your body is trying to help you find food. And you can go on and on and on and on this. You'll get to a point where it's going to be detrimental to your body. If you just keep doing this for the rest of your life, you will get to a point where you will have exhausted the fat reserves and the muscle reserves, and your body will start self-digesting its organs. We call that death by starvation. You would have to juice for a very, 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 very long time for that to occur. But you could do it on water in probably 200 days. Most people would die after 200 days of just water. It's a long time, but 200 days, you will self-digest your whole body and start dying of starvation. But just think about that. Think about the incredible organism that you inhabit, this incredible machine or this species that is able to switch like this, to plan B, to protect you.